I'm currently standing in London, the epicenter of the United Kingdom and one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. Now the weather is absolutely horrendous. The wind is blowing really strongly from behind me, the sun is nowhere to be seen, and the drizzle is starting to come down, and suddenly I'm missing the sunny beaches of South Africa. But despite the terrible weather, this is definitely one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, and there's a good reason for that. We've got some amazing old buildings all around us dating back to about 2,000 years ago. We've also got some amazing new buildings like the London Eye behind me here. These are the kind of things that people come from all over the world to see. But one thing I've noticed is that I'm not necessarily like the average tourist. Being an air rifle hunter, there are certain things that I pick up here that the average tourist may not pick up. And I'm going to show you some of those things today. Firstly, we've got the feral pigeons, also known as rats with wings, and there are absolutely thousands of them in London, if not hundreds of thousands. Now I'm standing in Trafalgar Square, well known as being one of the pigeon hotspots of the world, but surprisingly there are absolutely no pigeons here today, and there's a very good reason for that. Behind me here is Nelson's Column, and at the base of Nelson's Column there's a man standing with a bird of prey, it looks like a falcon, and his job is to release the falcon whenever there are pigeons around, and the falcon will either scare the pigeons off or bring one home for dinner. He's doing a very good job. Now let me talk about the feral pigeons for a moment. For the average passerby here, they're just a minor distraction from the beautiful sights all around them. But to me, they're more than just a minor distraction, they're a major distraction. Because back at home, I hunt these birds in the thousands. These aren't like the pigeons you get out in the countryside. These are filthy creatures, they carry diseases, and their droppings are very acidic, so whatever they poop on gets very damaged. The natural instinct when I see these birds is to bring the gun up to my shoulder and fire a shot, but obviously that can't be done here. It's a little bit frustrating. Perhaps the biggest problem with the feral pigeons is that there are many people that actually don't see them as pests. Nobody batters an eyelid or protests when rats are poisoned or killed in traps, and that's because wherever you go in the world, they are seen as pests by everyone. Pigeons, on the other hand, seem to fly under the radar and perhaps don't get the recognition they deserve when it comes to the dark arts of being an absolute nuisance. What makes feral pigeons better than rats anyway? Well, here's some food for thought. Pigeons are known carriers of up to 60 different diseases, including salmonella, tuberculosis, histoplasmosis, and ornithosis. I have no idea what those last two are, but I know that they're really bad. Many of these diseases can actually be fatal to both humans and animals, and they are spread through contact with feces, dandruff, or feathers. Pigeon feces is also acidic enough to corrode through paint, metal, and even through soft stone. If that's not bad enough, their feathers also block drains, gutters, and water pipes, and can be sucked through ventilators at restaurants, contaminating food. So it's clear that these birds are a problem, but it seems that instead of making an attempt to go out and eradicate them, people actually go out of their way to buy seed and to feed them. It's quite shocking, really. But enough of that, let's get out of the concrete jungle for a while, head to Hyde Park, and see what else we can find. The Egyptian goose. This is an animal that I know all too well. I was actually quite surprised to see them here in the UK. I had no idea that their range extended this far. These are actually one of our biggest agricultural pests back in South Africa, and so naturally I have shot quite a lot of them back at home. In fact, my most watched video on YouTube is actually an Egyptian goose hunt, believe it or not. Now these are beautiful birds, yes, but let me explain why they are such a problem back in South Africa. Basically, when the Europeans moved to the country a few hundred years ago, they brought with them farming techniques, so massive farms began to pop up everywhere. When they started developing farms, they also built dams. This provided a place for the geese to land on the water, and also provided a food source, which meant that their numbers increased dramatically. In the part of the country where I'm from, you're now allowed to hunt 10 geese per day. And that says something about the huge problem that these birds have become. And because Egyptian geese move around a lot, they have become serious carriers of diseases. For example, in one of the farms who have permission to hunt them, 2 horses died earlier this year because of the geese. The geese basically drank water from another water supply on another farm where the horses were diseased, pooped in the water supply of this farm. When the horses drank the water, they became sick and they died within a couple days. And that is a huge problem on a farm where horses can be extremely expensive to look after. On many of the farms that I shoot, I've got free rein to shoot as many geese as I want, as long as it's within the legal limit of 10 per day within the hunting season. And let me tell you, they are a heck of a lot of fun to shoot. The only limitation is that because they're so big, you have to go for a headshot with the air rifle, and that can be extremely difficult because they don't let you get anywhere near them, and their heads are fairly small compared to the rest of their body. Alright, moving on. And the last animal we're going to talk about today is the grey squirrel. Now, this is an animal that I don't necessarily know much about because we don't get them in the part of South Africa that I'm from, but I'll tell you what I do know. I have done a little bit of research. The grey squirrel was introduced to the UK from North America a few hundred years ago, and since their introduction they have become a huge problem because they not only chase out the indigenous red squirrel, which is becoming increasingly rare, but they're also very destructive. They're very territorial. They will kick out any bird that nests in their trees. They will destroy the vegetation in a certain area wherever they live. And because they've become so abundant and because they're such a problem, they've become one of the most hunted pest species with an air gun here in the UK. Now, the British are very quick to point fingers at the Americans and say, hey, why did you bring the grey squirrel to the UK? But conveniently, they are forgetting that it was them who were responsible for bringing the grey squirrel to South Africa. Thank you, England. So are these squirrels a problem? Yes, they definitely are. But unfortunately, they're rather cute as well. And because of this, you have a lot of the local Londoners completely unaware of the problems that they're causing with little bits of food and little nuts, reaching out their hands and feeding the squirrels, which obviously isn't helping the situation much at all. Now, from my squirrel hunting experience a few days ago in the UK, I can tell you that these are definitely one of the most enjoyable animals you can hunt with the air gun, but unfortunately we don't get them in the part of the world where I'm from, so you won't be seeing much of that on my channel. However, there is a channel called the Squirrel Hunter channel on YouTube, made by a local resident of England who goes out almost every week, in fact I think every week, and he puts up bait stations and he brings the grey squirrels in and he shoots them, and he does an excellent job of getting that on camera. So if you want to see some good grey squirrel hunting, check out the Squirrel Hunter channel. Okay, it's cold, it's overcast, still drizzling. I think I'm ready to go home to sunny South Africa now. Thank you, England, for being so accommodating. I've enjoyed my time here, but I'm ready for the beach. You can see I wasn't really prepared for your winters either, was I? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.